If you do not have a copy of Lenny Lemming, Lenny Out on the Ice, you can find that at Amazon.com. Search Lenny Lemming in the search bar and find your copy of Lenny Out on the Ice for sale digitally, in the Kindle app, or in print. Every time you hear this sound, it's time to turn the page. Feel free to stop, go back, or replay any of your favorite moments of Lenny Lemming. And remember, as always, Lenny will always be here for you to enjoy, in case you want to listen again later. The Adventures of Lenny Lemming, Lenny Out on the Ice. Written by P. Asa Smith.
It was the day of the Great Squeak. The Great Squeak is when all the kid lemmings meet with the rest of the village to demonstrate their most brave squeak and become an adult lemming. I woke up early, got ready, and left my house by the sea and waited in the bushes to surprise my friends when they showed up. Lonzo and Lamar came walking up the path. "Hey!" I shouted as I sprung from the bushes. "Squeak!" Lonzo and Lamar reacted, baring their teeth and crouching into the attack position. That scared me. I didn't expect that response. I fell backwards, my own squeak coming out. Lamar and Lonzo laughed at that. As he stood, Lonzo said, "I hope you bring a bigger squeak than that, Lenny, or you'll never be considered a true lemming."
So true,
Lamar chimed in. My cheeks were burning with frustration and embarrassment. Lamar stuck out his paw to help me up, but I batted it away. "I can be a lot bigger than that," I huffed as I stood up.
I hope so, because I don't want to be seen with someone who sounds so small,
Lamar said, and they laughed again. "They don't think I'm ready to be a grown lemming? I'll show them I'm ready by going off on my own then," I said to myself. So I scampered down to the shore and out onto the ice with a huff. I stuck out my tongue to show them how I felt, even though they were nowhere to be seen. I thought it would make me feel better. But it didn't. I sat down to think about my friends and how mad they made me. I began to calm down, and that led me to feel bad. I curled up into a ball with a big sigh. At some point, I must have dozed off. When I awoke, I found that I could no longer see the mountains. All I could see was water. I was afraid. "Hello!" I called out, but there was no reply. I guess I got my wish. I was alone. At first, I thought I could be okay with being alone. Despite being afraid, I began to enjoy the soft wind that carried me through the water as I gazed up at the stars. I woke up to a strange sound. A pod of orcas had come up to surface for air. I was too shy to speak to them. The smallest one looked at me, waiting for me to say something, but dove down to stay with his family, and I was alone again. It was on the second day that I noticed the ice seemed to be getting smaller. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I paced the ice again to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Satisfied, I sat down to watch the clouds. After a while, when the sun was at its highest, and it hurt my eyes to watch the clouds, I sat up. I was sure the ice was smaller this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. I froze. 4. Last time it was 6. Oh no! What am I going to do? I thought to myself. I panicked and began pacing furiously, causing the water to lap away at the edges of the already shrinking ice patch. That's when I noticed in the distance a mountaintop. A mountaintop? If I could get close enough, I could swim to it and maybe be safe before the crack. Ah! The ice patch chose that moment to split down the middle. I had one furry foot on each ice half as the ice began to move apart. The deep blue of the ocean looked up at me, almost like it was ready to swallow me up. Think, Lenny, think! I stared into the dark ocean, sure I was about to fall as my legs kept spreading. I told myself I had to do something. With all the energy I could gather, I pushed myself forwards towards the ice patch closest to the mountain and landed with a small crackling sound of the ice cracking threatened to break apart. The mountain was closer now, and I could just make out the shore. I held my breath and spread out on the ice. I felt like if I moved even a little, the whole ice patch would fall apart, and time seemed to stop. The ice patch would bob up. The ice patch would bob down. Snap, pop. The shore would be a little closer. That's how it went for ages. Up, down, snap. Up, crack, down, pop. I only knew that it was passing because I felt my toes in the water, then my feet, and before long, my knees were in the water. Snap! A loud one this time, and the ice began moving differently as it split again. I grabbed both sides with my hands and held on tightly as I kicked some more. Pop! Now the ice was breaking away in my hands. It was shrinking so fast, I had to kick a little harder, move a little faster. I raised my leg to give one more big kick when the ice fell apart, and the deep ocean swallowed me whole. I paddled my arms and legs up to the surface. I could see the shore was close enough to swim. Maybe. I just had to try my best, swim my hardest and fastest. Arm, breathe, don't stop kicking. But soon, my arms began to burn. It felt like I couldn't get enough air and like I was swimming for too long. Every time I looked at the shore, it was closer, but not close enough. You can't make it. It's too far, I heard myself say. Nonsense! My mom's voice rang out clearly in my head, almost like she was standing over my shoulder. You can do it if you set your mind to it. So I did. Arm over arm, breathing, kicking. I began to get dizzy from trying. It was too much. I felt myself ready to give up when rocks and gravel ground under my arms. I made it! Woohoo! I yelled at the top of my lungs. I collapsed on the shore, my legs still in the water, breathing hard and smiling harder. I had done it. I didn't quit, I didn't give up, and I didn't stop. But then I stopped myself. Standing on that beach, my fur still slick and wet from the water, I realized The reflection looking back at me in the water was someone who had just done the impossible. I guess, well, I kind of decided at that moment that I wasn't going to let my problems or my fears beat me. Instead, I was going to overcome them and maybe even learn something new along the way. With a new sense of confidence and focus, I set off down the beach, determined to get back home to my mom. Little did I know that I wasn't alone on that beach. Someone was watching me. But more on that later.